Hi guys, this is an impromptu video. I was not scheduled to do a video, but it's absolutely necessary. I'm coming to pipe in. I'm tagging in. I'm tagging in. Your elder here, elder in chief here on this channel, I'm tagging in. I did a video about a month ago, okay? About a month ago. That video had no more than like 100 views, okay? However, out of nowhere, it just got traction and it started moving. It brought us in 87 new family members, tribe members, squad. We're rolling deep now, okay? That video not only brought in new tribe members, but it also got me a couple of emails. And the emails sparked this video. So let me talk to you guys for a moment, okay? As we all are on this feminine journey to asanahood, okay? And you're going to only understand what asanahood means if you are reading my books, okay? All of us on our journey to asanahood and learning from Elder Eden and all this stuff. There are two things we must keep in mind. Number one, every woman has her own unique journey. That's number one, okay? Number two, her unique journey is specifically tied to her experiences growing up as a young girl. You don't just become a woman, okay? You don't just become a woman. There are years in the making of your becoming, okay? And so, if you were robbed from experiences like being a toddler and putting your little delicate feet in your mother's heels and walking around with them, okay? And grabbing her purse while in her shoes with your little bobblehead, okay? Walking around with them. Or watching your mother apply her makeup, okay? Or watching your mother do her hair. Or having your mother show you how to take care of yourself as a young woman. If you are robbed of the experience of having a strong feminine presence around you throughout the most important 7 years of your life, because those are the most important years of your life, 0 to 7, okay? If you were robbed of that feminine presence, a woman in your space that had a sense of ease, a sense of, just the feminine presence. If you never had that from year 1 through 7, the next section of your life is 7 to 14. If that energy does not show up in your life at the second most important time of your life, then again you were robbed of being able to draw in and be a sponge to what that looks like and what it feels like. Hear me, okay? So then what ends up happening is that you end up being a 22-year-old, impressionable, trying to find your way, trying to navigate the waters, trying to figure out how you fit in the world. Where is your space in the world? Where do you fit? Trying to find that on your own is a very difficult task. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means it's a very difficult task to do because you have nothing, you have no representation. You've had nothing to condition you Okay? And so you're left to experience that, learn that on your own, because you didn't have a guide. You didn't have a guide with you along the journey. The most important part of your life, as far as to developing who you are, developing a strong sense of self, developing a self-identity, most of that comes from the emulation that we do of our mothers when we see them getting dressed, when we're young, when our mother is painting her nails, and mommy, we want to paint too, okay? When our mother is doing her hair and she lets down her curls, and you say, mommy, I want curls too. When you don't have that representation growing up, 0 to 7 and 7 to 14, it's going to be extremely difficult to navigate the waters on who you are and how you fit and how you feel about who you are. Because growing up, no one was able to confirm that for you. That is how important a strong feminine presence is in a woman's life, is that as you were growing up and having those experiences and seeing those things happen, those things are not only confirming who you are to be. You get an example of what to be means, okay? And so you begin to emulate what you've seen. And that is conditioning, okay? It is a set of conditioning. When your mother says, we're going to go ahead and brush our teeth like this, or we are ladies, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to fold our legs like this. No, 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 no. Sit this way. So a woman correcting you with her feminine energy along your journey. If you've been robbed of that from 7 to 14, from 0 to 7, and then from 7 to 14, you are going to struggle. And I need my subbies to understand this. It is not your fault. Hear me. It is not your fault that you didn't have a healthy, cohesive, feminine presence in your life. One that will help you define who you are, refine who you are, correct you along the journey. If you didn't have that, it is not your fault. And I need you to understand that the way you look at the world, the way you see the world, whether or not you are projecting your own insecurities, whether or not you, in all of your relationships and all of that, that's because of conditioning, okay? It's not your fault, darling. It's not your fault. It is not your fault. The way you see the world as you see it. Because all of us, each one of us is conditioned. We are all conditioned to see the world in a certain way. We are all conditioned to see the world in a certain way. Yes, we are all programmed. That programming starts in our households, in our environments where we grow up. And so now that you know that it is not your fault, the conditioning that you got, okay? You must understand that you can't unlearn what you know, but you can always redefine you. You can redefine yourself. Yes, you can. Redefine yourself means that understanding that trauma happened, understanding that you were robbed of those early onset trainings from a woman who was very strong in her feminine being, okay? Who showed you what it looks like to take care of the sick, you know? And I remember writing this post on Facebook a few years ago about how, for me, I'm I had wrote in the post that my pots and pans are my tools. They're my medicine tools, not just for my clients when I'm trying to come up with a remedy, or when I'm blending and mixing and distilling and all that. Not that, no. Meaning that the pots and the pans are so powerful that you can whip something up in the kitchen that can be medicine. Okay? Ooh, sorry. I remember writing that, and I remember all of the women responding in such a positive way, saying that they never heard that before. And then I thought to myself, where did I get that thought from? And then it hit me. I remember my Aunt Jeanette, God rest her soul, making chicken noodle soup, okay, for my then pregnant cousin, which would have been her daughter. She was making soup and she was cutting celery. And I said, I hate celery. I don't like celery. And she said, this celery is for her, so it could take down the swelling in her boobs. Huh? I was young, extremely young. But those moments growing up, seeing my Aunt Jeanette use that pot, okay. And I remember when my cousin, she was pregnant, but her boobs were engorged. How do you say engorged? They were engorged, so they were painful for her. And I'm sharing this experience. I hope she's okay with me sharing it, but I also wrote about it in the new extended version of The Healer's Purse. But her boobs were engorged, and they were tight and huge. And my auntie put her over the stove, took a rag, and was squeezing her boob over the stove, okay? The heat from the stove was heating up the boob. The steam coming up from the pot was heating up her boob. And I remember milk spreading everywhere. I was like, oh my God, gross, gross, gross. I'm running. I'm like, gross, gross, gross. And my auntie said, you will understand this when you get older. Those were strong feminine presence that I was able to see in my life. My Aunt Jeanette was my first doctor. Hear me. She was a woman. And no, she didn't have an MD. And no, she didn't go to medical school. But I'll never forget seeing all of the milk come out everywhere and her boobs start to go down. Okay. And my cousin was calm and eating chicken soup. Okay. And I remember her walking in a room taking a nap. She was okay. And I remember having this idea that my auntie really is like a superpower. I became a healer in natural health because of seeing that strong feminine presence early on. I'm sure of it, along with my mother and all the other strong women in my family. But I was little. And we are impressionable at those ages. The stuff that we absorb is sticking with us forever, is deep down in your DNA, is stored within every cell of your body. It's not just in your mind. You're not just holding that as a memory. It's not just a memory in your mind. It's a memory in your DNA. That's why in the book, when I told you guys to go back, I said, women, learn your heritage. Research your mother, her mother's mother, and her mother. Know their names, know their stories. Familiarize yourself with it. It's in the book. Because I know that the email that I got yesterday is because this young lady was robbed of those strong feminine energies in her space while she was growing up. From 0 to 7, from 7 to 14, she was robbed of having women around her. And because she was robbed of having women around her, all she had was men who loved her dearly, but they can only love her from the masculine perspective. And so she's navigating this worldview. She's out here in the world. She's out here in the world trying to navigate her experiences, but she's doing that from the perspective of her conditioning. She is doing that based on her level of understanding all of the stuff that's stored deep inside of her DNA. Okay? No matter how much world training you get on the outside, going to college or to university or traveling abroad, there's nothing like having those in your early years. But hear me, okay? And this is to the young lady who sent me the email. It's not your fault that you didn't get those experiences. That's not your fault. You couldn't control that. That is your life journey. And this is why I need women to understand that every woman's journey is unique to her experiences, her conditioning, and what she was exposed to very, very early on. A lot of women were exposed to some very difficult things in their youth. And so they're still navigating the world from that perspective of hurt and trauma and distrust and suspicion. Okay? A lot of women are suspicious by nature, but they don't know they're suspicious by nature because they didn't have anything around them that made them feel secure and okay. That suspicion is a on guard self survival mechanism. It's like you're suspicious about every person that comes in your life, every man. Do they mean well? So you're on defense, you're on guard because you didn't have that early on. That's a masculine trait because this young lady grew up with uncles and a father, okay? And an auntie who will come around every once in a while. So of course she was on guard. Because a man, that's the way that the men are designed to be on guard, to figure out what's happening and what's going on, and so they're suspicious. So her suspicious attitude towards the world and everyone else is not her fault. It's from her conditioning. So I had to make this video today to let you know that if you can relate to this young woman, okay, and if you can relate to the story that I gave you, if you understand where I'm going with it, understand this. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that you were robbed of those experiences. But here's what you can do. Okay? You know I'm results driven. Here's what you can do. You cannot, number one, say that it has nothing to do with you growing up, because it does. Everything that you've experienced is in the marrow of your bone. Everything, deep hurt, deep betrayal, all of that is inside of the marrow of your bone. So now that you have all of these stored horrible memories, if you have those, or the lack of memories to begin with, you need to set up new memories for yourself as an adult. Get yourself a mentor and know that never stop being a student to the elders. When I tell you that I have elders in my phone right now, and I'm an elder myself, I have elders in my phone right now because I understand how important it is to not have to know that fire is hot by touching it, but by learning that it's hot so not to touch it. Understand? But this person that you get in your life, they need to be well. They need to be well. Well, listen to me. The person that you get in your life needs to be well. Well. Mentally. Well. Understand? Mentally stable. Not so much as getting yourself someone who you aspire to be. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to have someone who has that old folks wisdom, okay? That feminine energy that is really, really, when she shows up, is very strong. Because what happens is energy is transferable. How many times have you guys heard me say that? Energy is transferable. So although you can't make up for the stuff that you missed, you can absolutely feed your soul what it needs. Feed your soul what it needs. And every woman, I don't care how old you are, how old you get, you need to have a feminine presence in your life. Someone who can pour into you that energy, okay? That energy from a feminine perspective. If you are on this feminine journey, this asanahood journey, you must understand that when Elder Eden was teaching the women and sending them out, sending them back to their homes so that they can be married off, Elder Eden was not the mother of those girls. She wasn't the mother of those girls. But the village understood how important it was to have a woman who could impart something. Understand? So those girls' mothers knew that they were not equipped to give their daughters what they needed. So they sent their daughters to Elder Eden. And if you remember in the book, when when Chipkulu came to burn down Elder Eden's place where the girls were staying, he understood that it wasn't just important for Elder Eden to have a space for the girls, but how the village viewed Elder Eden and her absolute presence, because some of the women of the village were not equipped to give the girls what they needed, perhaps because of their own trauma. And so Elder Eden was used as a way to help combat the fact that those girls didn't have into the capacity that they needed a woman to give them what they needed so that they can be wives themselves. Remember, when the chief burned down the space, and Elder Eden said, I'll be dead by morning, but I'm going to get the girls back. Going to get the girls back. She was sure that getting the girls back was not about her, but it was about the community. Because what she had already given the girls as far as the lessons and the training, that training was going to be beneficial to the community at large. So if in fact you were robbed of your mother's presence or some woman who could teach you presence, it's important for you to find yourself an Elder Eden. Someone who's well, good intentioned, who can hug you when you cry, who can wipe your tears when your heart is broken, because it will get broken. Trust me, that's life and living. Your heart will get broken, young lady. Woman, you're going to experience heartbreak at some point. Someone is not going to love you back at some point. That's life and living. But then having someone in your space, like an Elder Eden, can soften the blow. Many young women have been robbed of the comfort a mother gives when she lays her daughter's head in her bosom and she allows her daughter to cry, and not being judgmental, but allowing her to be emotional in her mother's arms, in her mother's space, on her mother's bosom, while her mother is stroking her hair. My fondest moments with my mother were the moments where I was unsure about something. And even when I got older, I was able to climb in her bed and put my head on her stomach while she rubbed my hair. Those are moments that a lot of women missed out on, that I don't take for granted, okay? But a lot of women missed out on, and I understood that. And that was the importance of making sure that Elder Eden was present in the book, so that for all those women I couldn't get to, and for all those women who didn't have that mother to say, baby, come here and lay right here. that the book will be able to do that for you. It will help you. But you got to be willing to do the work. You got to be willing to do the work. I'm going to do 2 women today. Now, this video is going to be pretty long, okay? Well, it's already long, especially because it's impromptu. But I'm going to play this video of a young lady. Well, she's an elder now. She's actually an elder. I'm going to play this video of this elder who is famous because of her character, Claire Huxtable. But when we are looking at Claire Huxtable, we must understand that that is a character, okay, that is played on TV. However, there is an even more dynamic woman behind the character played as Claire Huxtable. This young woman grew up in a home that had a mother and a father. Father was a doctor, okay? Mother was just, listen, the family dynamics of this woman were intact, okay? She knew what it felt like to get on her dad's back and be carried around. She also knew what it was like for her mother to have standards. And so when I see her in this video that I'm about to play for you, there's no surprise. That's what 2-parent households look like. Regardless of whether or not it's stepfather, stepmother, 2-parent homes look like people who have strong identities, okay? And that doesn't mean that there are people who don't have strong identities that didn't have a 2-parent household. It just means that those people have to be stronger than you know, because now they're combating all that they didn't have. And so I want to play this for you. And understand that what you are watching is because of the dynamics of her household, what she was conditioned, okay? The way she was conditioned. And so while you guys watch this, I'm going to go and try to take down this ponytail because I really can't stand having stuff like pins. So you guys watch this. I'm going to try to get this ponytail loosened or down so I can let my hair out. And then you and I will be back to chat.
They're so different.
I will not raise my daughter differently than my mother raised me. The rearing I got from my mother, words cannot express. I could live in any time, I could live in any country, I could live on any planet, and I would be fine.
What was the key? What did your mother know? What truth was coming through your mother that's going to come through you to your daughter?
My mother gave us aphorisms to learn as children. And there are 2 that stand out foremost in my mind. One is, the inner reality creates the outer form. I learned this when I was in grade school. I was very young. And the other is, the universe bears no ill to me. I bear no ill to it.
These aphorisms will be taught to your daughter.
Yes, absolutely.
They've already been taught to your...
Woo. Better. Okay. Oh, that feels so much better. All right, so now that we were able to watch that, okay, I hope you were able to view it from the perspective of understanding all that I said before that, right? Which was the conditioning. And you can see that this woman has become she has become herself because of the stuff that is behind it. Remember what I told you about Lori Harvey, how I said that she has all that is preceding her, all that goes before her, right? And that kind of gave her that magnetism, that magnetism, that, you know, that special stuff, you know, the who she belongs to, where she comes from, who's her mother, and all that stuff matters. And that is also why I said to women, please know your family, know your mother, her mother's mother, etc. But as you can see, this woman is I have no words to say that she's absolutely amazing, but she also reminds us how important it is to be extremely cultured. Remember that video that I did yesterday? And it's funny that all these people that you guys are suggesting, because you guys suggested Felicia Rashad, when you suggested Felicia Rashad, um, I was like, whoa! Now that's an absolute. Why didn't I think of that earlier? Playing this clip, I'm like, oh my gosh, she reminds me of Jill Scott, right? The story of Jill Scott and how Jill Scott talked about her mother. And then I said, well, there's a line that's being drawn here, even between Marjorie Harvey, because Marjorie Harvey's mother and her father are still together. So you see that, right? And then you take that down to Lori Harvey, right? And although Marjorie is not what Lori's father, she was able to make sure there was a masculine presence around her. So she got that there, right? And then we go down to Jill Scott, and then we go down to Felicia Rashad. We can see that there is a common thread, that there are extremely feminine women amongst all of these women. Okay? So they had the prototype, they had the blueprint. And so it's easier when you have the blueprint, when you can see what it looks like. Representation matters, right? If we understand that representation matters, we must also understand that if in fact we've never seen what it looks like, then we couldn't possibly know what the answers are. And it's okay to not know the answers. You don't need to know everything. All you need to do is to be able to find yourself an Elder Eden. If at church, if there is a, these are always good ones to do, okay? If you are in church, okay, and there is an usher, find you an usher who is sweet as butter, sweet as pie, sweet as banana pudding, and ask her if you could have a conversation with her. Okay, I remember on my first YouTube uploads, I did my neighbor, who I used in the video to explain how she was like one of my best friends. She's older than me, way older. I think she's 70, something. But we would go wholesale shopping together. I would do a lot of wholesaling. We would go selling together, and we would spend hours traveling together. But within those hours of traveling together, I was able to learn from her. Now, she's a Caucasian woman, okay? And her experiences are different because of that, right? Than the ones that my mother would have had. That's why it's important to be diverse, have a diverse group of people around you so you can learn. But I remember we were coming back from wholesaling, and she said to me, I asked her, I said, why have you never remarried? And she said, why would I ever remarry? My husband was the best ever. And she started talking about him as if he was still living. But her husband, unfortunately, had passed away. He died. And she said, why would I ever remarry? I said, for companionship. And she said, Karima, you're going to learn this. You're going to learn this soon enough. Maybe you won't. Maybe you will. But when you had a husband like I had, I am satisfied for life. And I said, but don't you want somebody that can make you grits in the morning, or maybe take the stuff out of the car that we get from wholesaling and all that? And she said no. She said, ooh. She started going, ooh, Karima, ooh, that's gross. I know, no, I don't need anybody. And I said, what about somebody that take you to dinner? She said, I have had all the dinners. And she said, I've had all of the dinners I've ever wanted to have. And she just was, the way she talked about her husband, I was like, whoa. So you're telling me that the one marriage was all you ever needed? She said, yeah. The kids had a good father. I had a good husband. We had a good life. Now that my husband is gone on, I am going to live my life like this. I've had what I needed to have. And I don't need to be looking out here for somebody else. This woman travels her tail off, okay? There was a vineyard that she knew about that I didn't know about. And she calls me, she goes, do you want to go to the vineyard tomorrow? I said, let me see. Well, where is it? She says, well, it's, XYZ place. And she said, I, and Shirley will go. Now, Shirley was another one of our neighbors. And Shirley is probably about 70, close to 79, almost 80. Maybe she's 80. So she's older. Okay, I, and Shirley were going to go to the vineyard. And are you okay also with eating? So bring extra money to eat and so forth. And so we went on this trip. Here I am with two older women having the time of my life. You would think I would be hanging with hanging with young girls. Here I am. I am having the time of my life. Shirley, Deb, me having the time of our life, sipping the best wine. Actually, some of it was terrible. But trying to find the best one. Which one's better? Which one's good? Da, da, da. No, you can't have that because of and me learning from them. Okay. And learning from their experiences. And I remember asking Shirley, I said, Shirley, if you don't mind me asking, I asked the same thing to Deb. I said, why did you never get remarried? And I was shocked when she said, why would I get remarried? My husband passed away. He was good. And she started talking about him and the way she talked about him. And then I said, so you mean to tell me that people grow old without their husbands and are completely okay if their husbands pass before them? They don't need a void, to fill a void. And I remember Shirley saying, I said, so there's no void that you don't want to go on a date or go on anything? And she said, well, I got the church. She started talking about all the other stuff that she had in her life. But she said to me, when you do it early on, you don't know how life is going to pan out. And she said, I am happy. These are two older women who are happy with themselves. They're happy with themselves because of their experience, okay? They feel like they've had their lives. And the life that they're living now is just, I mean, it's it's amazing to understand and to learn from older women. So get you an older woman who is just as funny and open as Shirley and dynamic as Deb so that you can learn from them. If you have not had a strong woman in your life, you don't have a strong woman, go to the church, get you an usher, go to the masjid, find you the woman who cooks the food at the Jumas. Um, you know, you have to get yourself a woman. This next person, this young lady that I'm about to show you, when I saw her on screen, I literally said, this woman is somebody's wife. All of us have our unique gifts as women and how we express our femininity, okay? Some of us are doing it intentionally. We are intent. We are specifically wearing this. We're specifically doing that. We are specifically doing this. We're specifically doing that. We are doing it intentional because we have yet to just be that thing yet. Especially because if we didn't have the conditioning growing up, we are intentionally being feminine every day. We have to make a conscious effort to remember to be a woman or to be feminine, right? But this young lady, as soon as I saw her on the screen, I said, this is somebody's wife, and she can have any man she wanted. She can have any man she wanted. And it had nothing to do with her beauty, because she's absolutely beautiful. She's stunning. But it had everything to do with the fact that she was innately feminine in a pair of jeans and a white shirt and a pair of a pair of jeans and a white shirt tied in the middle. Her hair was just simply pushed back. She didn't have on any makeup or anything. She wasn't dolled up like I am, like I'm normally am. But that's me. We all express it differently. Um, but when I saw her, I thought, who is this young lady? Who's going to marry this young? What amazing, amazing young man is going to be lucky enough to have this delicate flower? And when she got up and she talked to Steve Harvey, because this is a Steve Harvey clip, she talked to Steve Harvey and she said that she had moved and for this guy she was dating, and it had only been like 3 to 4 months or so, and that it was really getting serious, and that she was thinking about, I think she was from Ireland. Was she from Ireland? I don't know. You're going to see it in the clip where she was from. But she come from wherever she was from here to the U.S. for this guy, and she was thinking about staying. And as she was speaking, I was getting all kind of cues. I'm like, my girls need to see this. They need to see this. That there are some of us who are operating in our feminine because we have to be intentional about it, and then there are some of us who are just that way. And when I was watching her speak to Steve, I realized two things that just jumped off, okay? And it had nothing to do with her beauty, but everything to do with her energy. One, she was completely vulnerable. There was a simplicity, a vulnerable. It was a vulnerable simplicity. It was vulnerable, but it was available. It was vulnerable, available. It was simplistic. It was actually quite soothing to watch, pleasant on the eyes, not the face, but what she was giving off. That sense of she's wanting to be a student. A lot of us are okay with thinking we know it all. Even myself, I battle that, right? We know it all. But she had this vulnerability that was extremely feminine. And I talk about this, having this vulnerability that makes extremely feminine. This vulnerability that made it extremely feminine, that made her open to learning and to hearing. And when she was waiting for Steve's response, I realized that she was completely open. And I said, that's the kind of energy that gets the marriage. Not the kind that says, when are we going to get married? I've been with you for 6 months. You haven't married me yet. When are we going to get married? This is the kind of energy that says, that any man in her presence says, I need that. I need that. And he's going to grab that thing and hold on to it, because that energy is extremely rare. You know what's not so rare? The intentional feminine. The woman who has to remind herself, let me be seated in my femininity. Let me calm down. Let me relax. I didn't need to open a door for myself because that guy was trying to open it for me. That intentional female. Because a lot of us have experienced hurt, especially if you've had the the African American experience. If you are, part of the African diaspora and have had that experience, then of course a lot of that is different, right? I think I said that earlier. But this kind of energy that she's operating with is extremely different. It's delicate, it's interesting, it's not assertive at all. It's not asserting anything. She's not asserting, and it's powerful. A lot of people think that you have to assert yourself in order to be powerful. This young lady that I'm about to play is only being a woman, and she is just open. She is not asserting herself. She is willing to be the student. She is vulnerable. She is available. She is soft. Even in her jeans, she made me want to say, gosh, how old is my son? Can my son marry her? Yeah, I was like, goodness, this is going to be somebody's good wife. Absolutely. Too bad. Because after she talked to Steve, this young lady really did end up marrying, as I understand it, the guy that she moved to with. Here in this clip I'm about to play you, she actually ended up marrying this guy. Go ahead, watch the clip. You and I are going to come back and we're going to chat.
Hey, Steve. I'm from Stockholm, Sweden. I'm here in LA visiting my boyfriend. We've been in a long-distance relationship since this summer, and although it's only been a few months, I feel like it's gotten quite serious, and I'm considering moving to the States, and I'd like to know what are your thoughts? What do you think I should consider before making a big move like that?
First of all, what does he do?
He's a producer.
Everybody in LA is a producer. He's a producer. Does he have a show on TV?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Is he, how old is he?
Like me, he's 28.
He's 28. Okay. You got to take chances in life. When it's a woman that's making the move, I just ask the woman to be a little bit more careful, because it's hard to come to a man at such a young age and be beholding.
Right.
So you just want to make sure that you're going into some type of security.
Right.
How long have you known him?
About 4 months.
The peanut gallery ain't feeling this right now. Girl, run. Well, I can't say that. Where does he work?
I can't say.
You can't say. Oh, this him? It's him? Oh, no. Come here, man. This is my dude right here. I got him this job. This is who? Are you serious? Where you find her at, dog?
Sweden.
You found her in Sweden?
Sweden.
What was you doing over there?
So, now that you saw it, I hope you guys can see what I was seeing. And then again, I look at things a little bit differently, and it's because I'm intentionally looking for them, right? But also so that I can teach and all of that. But it's more important for women to understand what kind of woman they are and be okay with that, and stay there, stay in your lane, you know? I stay in my lane. I stay in my lane. I mind my business, drink my water, and I stay in my lane. And what I mean by that is that I am sometimes overexcitable, okay? Overexcitable, meaning that I get extremely excited when things are going well, when things are happening, when things are, I'm extremely excitable. So I have a lot of energy, okay? This young lady had a calming, she had this thing that was different than my feminine, but it doesn't make my feminine any less feminine. It just makes my feminine different. And so that's what I want women to understand, is that not all femininity is going to look the same. It's going to be expressed differently. And most of the times, it's going to be expressed based on your understanding, your conditioning, how you grew up, how you view the world. It's okay to stay in your lane. Understand what kind of feminine you are. Master that thing, be that thing, and go out in the world and be somebody. Yeah. Until next time, be empowered, be inspired, and be what? And be what? And be well. Bye, guys.